That's good. Hi folks, today I'm going to be showing you a simple mod that's really handy for cable management with fans, especially for radiators and water cooling use. I'm going to be showing you how to take a fan like one of these master fans from Cooler Master and turning it from one of these to a modular one like this with a short connector at the top. So you're going to need a crimper, some pliers or something to cut your wires. I've got a wire stripper here. This isn't necessary, but it makes your life much easier. And you're going to need something like one of these tiny Allen keys that I've got here, or you can use a knife or a pinhead or something like that. Just something very small that will be able to fit into a fan connector. And I've got some little fan connector heads themselves as well. You can buy these online, they're quite easy. And you're going to need some fan connectors as well. I'm using some female ones here. If you got some male ones, you could also make an extension like you would maybe for a power supply. It's the same principle, just smaller. So you'll notice I've got a ribbon cable here. I'm going to separate the RGB section, which is this 4-pin header, from the normal PWM section. This just makes it a bit easier to work with. With these two now separated, let's put a marker in so we know exactly which cables are going to go where. Because these are all black, sometimes the older ones are coloured, so it's a bit easier to work with some tape. I like to put one bit of tape around it like that, so it has like a wing. That way you know which direction the cables face. And you do the same one just here on the other side. So these two flaps are going to be facing the same direction. That way when we cut it down in the middle, we're going to know exactly the orientation of the wires. This is handy because we're keeping it in a ribbon at this point. So now we want to cut them. Right, so with the wires cut, we're just going to splay them out a little bit here. This is a little bit fiddly to do, but we want those wires separated now. So the next step is to strip the ends of the wires. I'm going to use my manual stripper just because these wires are very small. You want to take maybe 5mm off or so. Usually the pins will come in like a roll or a sheet like this. So the best way is just take them off. And then they'll be ready for putting on the wires. For these ones, it will definitely help if you put it into the crimper before putting the wire in, because they're just going to fall off otherwise. Just be really careful. That's it. That's all you need. If you do it any more, then you'll start crimping it further and then the wire won't be able to fit in. Next, carefully slide the connector onto the wire, and you want to make sure that the wings of the crimp are on top of the insulation, because that's where it gets the grip from on that side, and you want the wire to be crimped on the other side. With all the connectors crimped onto the cables, all that's left is just to put it into an actual connector itself. So these slide on in the little holes like this. This can be a little bit fiddly, but you just want to push them in. So that's the actual mod complete. There's not really that much to it, but why is it useful? Well, by having a short connector like that, you can use either splitters like these. So these are just a standard shop bought splitter. You could always make one yourself. They're quite simple, bit laborious, but you can do it obviously. You'd need a soldering gun and some things like that. The connectors on these, you can just connect up to the fan. And now, if you have many of these, you can line them all up on radiators and similar using the splitters, and you won't have lots of stray cables running around the case, around the back, and needing to be managed later. You can also, instead of using one of these, either make or buy just a standard extender, and this does the same job. You just connect, and then that end you can make as long or short as you want. You just plug that into wherever it's going to go. So if you look at this short wire here, you can put sleeving over the header, or remove them from the header and put sleeving in, and then heat shrink it and make it look really professional, which is something which was very difficult to do if you were soldering them. So the old way you solder the fans together, And then the problem with that is when you do it, you have to put the sleeving on, because once the solder's there, it's a permanent fixture. And aside from it becoming very bulky, it just meant that you had no options. You couldn't redo your fans, you couldn't take them apart, you had to cut everything off and start from scratch. That is a problem. This, however, is much easier. One important point is how to remove the actual pins themselves from an existing connector. Now, there are tools that can help you do this, they're dedicated ones. I don't see the point in that. It's much easier just to use a tiny Allen key or a needle or even a scalpel, just something small that fits in here. So using your little object, just push down on the tab and then you can pull it out from the other side like that. And there you have it. Hopefully this little mod will make working with lots of fans and radiators that little bit easier for you.